Love and light, everyone. Welcome back to The Cleareview, where everything starts and ends with you. My name is Piaget, host and creator, if you do not know who I am. And I have a very special and lovely guest today who's going to be sharing exactly who she is and what she is about. Now, if you don't know, on this platform, this is about entrepreneurship, building up businesses, and talking about real, relevant stories, things that actually need to be spoken of and things that actually make sense. So before we get into our discussion today, we're going to get to know who you are. I know you, but like I told you earlier, you're going to talk to me as if I know absolutely nothing about you. So you're going to say who you are, what you represent, and let's talk a little bit about your platforms or whatever you're working on right now.
All right, so hi everyone. My name is Jamika Freckleton. We got to be professional, so let me start with the full name. But everybody knows me as Jam. I am a first-time author, life coach, podcaster, blogger, but more importantly, I am a registered nurse.
Everything, jeez.
Yes, everything. Titles on titles.
Okay.
I am the owner of the Fempowerment Organization, founder and owner of the Fempowerment Organization, and also the owner of Lyric Statement Teas, both new companies.
Okay, so before we move forward, let's talk about each of them a little bit. So let's talk about the female empowerment. What made you wanted to get it started? What was your inspiration towards it? Because is it something you always wanted to do, or is it something that over the years because you do work on yourself and you want to help persons when you get to a certain level with your own work with yourself. Is that your experience, or is it something that you always wanted to do?
Well, honestly, for me, it has been, I don't know if anybody else had this issue, but I have tried to find out for a very long time what my purpose was in life. And it's like you go through a lot of experiences not knowing why, and then one day it just hits you.
Yeah.
This is what, they say your purpose is exactly what you are doing now. So if you ever wondered what it was, it's exactly what you are doing now.
Yep.
So it was me communicating with people, and when I told somebody about this, they was like, this is the perfect person for empowerment.
Yes.
So it was like always doing this, but not realizing, okay, bam, this is what you've been destined to do.
Right.
But on a personal level, it was a specific experience that I had went through that caused me to say, this is wrong. Abuse is wrong, basically. It's not right, and it's something that we normalize, and I think we turn a blind eye to it, basically. So I wanted to bring awareness. So it was a personal issue that said, all right, we gotta do something about it. And speaking to other females that encountered the same thing, it was like, put Jam aside. I gotta be this voice for other females. So basically, that's what started it.
Nice.
Trying to figure out my purpose and then wanting to be that voice for somebody else because of my own experience. So what my platform does, it allows me to tell my story, to invite you to tell yours. So the shine ain't on me.
Right.
I'm comfortable doing this.
Yes.
My life was always an open book. So it takes nothing off of me to say that, but I want you to know that this is somebody that encountered something similar. Come share your story as well, and let's work on this together.
I love that, Jem, because I feel like that's kind of the direction I go in as well. And I've known you for so many years. That's why when I saw that you were starting this, it wasn't a surprise because, and I'm sure to other persons too, it wasn't a surprise if they truly know you because this is who you are.
Yes.
You've always been this person, always motivating, always so charismatic, always just that light all the time. So I'm happy to see that you're walking in something that you do naturally.
Yes.
Like you said, it's something that you're naturally always doing already, which is your purpose. So that's great. Now let's talk about Lyric.
Okay, so Lyric Statement Teas piggybacks off of Fempowerment. So Fempowerment, I like to call the parent organization. It is the nonprofit side, but then there's always a connection. You'll see in the colors that I've chosen, they are for specific reasons. So I use the sky blue that talks about awareness and self-expression. And then the purple represents the domestic violence aspect. So I forgot to mention that is the platform of Fempowerment.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence. And bringing awareness to an issue, obvious but not so obvious issue, narcissism.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but
very much so.
You probably encountered a narcissist and don't even realize.
Everybody.
So basically, Lyric Statement Teas piggybacks off of that. So we want to talk about life after the abuse. So it's on the premises of you rediscovering your own voice, and I think that's a very powerful thing. So when you think about the term lyric, you think about an artist or someone who writes a song, that is their expression.
Yeah.
So that's where I developed the name Lyric from, and I put a spin on the spelling Lyrik.
Yeah.
Look at me, couldn't spell my own. You
Okay, and
Yeah,
guys,
okay.
we
Thanks
have
for
on
the help, sis.
we have on the shirts right now. I just so
Yes.
happen this is not planned. This is not planned. We have on the exact same shirt.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. So, lyric is basically rediscovering your voice. I wanted you to add your personality for you to be able to speak and say who you are. Sorry, say who you are without having to speak.
Okay.
So, this is my tagline. Fempowerment is I am strong, I am resilient, I am woman. So this is one of the shirts that we would feature with lyrics. So I want to change it up every month. You'll never get the same tagline, but it's just to empower, motivate you. These are the things that I think about and want to say. So I just decided to put it on the shirt. And I
love
think
it.
most people could agree, like, that's how you feel too. I am strong, I
Yeah.
am resilient, I am woman.
And the thing
You
is,
know?
even for those who don't know, it's just a reminder, a gentle reminder all the time, because every day you will not wake up feeling strong and resilient, but to have that to put on your chest, to have that shirt, and especially knowing the background of it, why it was started, it's a good reminder.
Exactly.
In case you don't feel that way
I
every day.
agree.
So
I
let's
agree.
definitely cheers to that.
Hey.
Y'all don't talk about us in our plastic cups, because this was very impromptu, but we still have a little bit of wine happening here.
Nothing wrong with that.
So listening to everything you said, I'm very excited about this topic, because we're talking about forgiveness. Before we get into our conversation, just let everyone know where they can find you on your, sorry. Before we,
Yeah.
She drunk, y'all.
I ain't drunk yet. Before we get into the conversation, let everyone know where they can find you on your social media platforms. Like, how can we get in touch with you? How can we see your work, your updates? How can we find you?
Okay, you can log on to my website, fempowerment242.com. I can also be found on Instagram as well as Facebook. That's the Lyric Statement Tees account, as well as Fempowerment242 once again. And then also you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Fempowerment, so a lot of stuff will be loaded there as well. And then lastly, there's SoundCloud, where you can listen to my podcast episodes. That's Fempowerment as well.
Nice. I'm so proud of you. Anyway, we can get into all of that. All right, so the topic is forgiveness. And we have these conversations, again, for persons who don't know, just joining us or never saw the show, to bring awareness, just like your platform, to bring awareness, to talk about things that are needed to be spoken up and that people are dealing with but don't have the guts to, or don't know the first step to getting towards their healing. So we're talking about forgiveness today. So I have some questions for you, and every question obviously will lead to a dialogue, okay? So the first question I want to ask you is, what is one of the hardest things, in your opinion, about forgiveness? What is like one of the hardest things about forgiveness to you?
Okay, forgiveness on the whole is hard.
Yes.
It is hard because it's so much easier, and the Bible talks about it, to like love somebody who you love. I love you.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to love somebody that you can't stand.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
what we're required to do. So stepping away from that, I think the hardest thing about forgiveness is when you think you've already passed a certain point, like you didn't think you could, and then something could happen that bring you right back there, or
Yeah.
like bring up a memory, and it's like you was a step ahead and then you got knocked 10 steps
I think
back.
everyone could agree that they've been there before.
I think that's what it is. It's an ongoing process, and when you think you're over it, you're really not. And I think that's what's hard about forgiveness.
Yeah, I'll agree. And I guess we call those growing pains. Like things that we think we're over with, or things that we think we've healed from. Sometimes we, it just comes up. And that's how you know it's something that you still have to continuously work on. Because they become triggers sometimes, and you realize that if this affects me this way, maybe I'm not as over it as I thought I was, or maybe I need to spend some more time on this particular thing, whatever that was that hurt me. So, good answer. Now I want you to fill in this blank, okay? Forgiveness requires blank to be successful. So you can fill in that blank with anything. What is one thing that forgiveness requires? What do we need?
I think you need to be truthful, like with yourself, with the situation. And once you come to grips that forgiveness isn't for you, isn't for the other person.
Right.
No,
it's not for the other person. It's for you.
It is for you. So when you realize the truth in that, then I think it'll make it a bit easier.
Yeah.
So it ain't like, okay, it take nothing off of you, me and Paget, okay, we got into an argument or whatever have you. but she was wrong.
Yeah.
You understand? It ain't about her being wrong. It's really forgiveness is for you to get to the place that you need to.
Yeah.
You would find if you can't forgive, then you can't move on, and that kind of like traps you. So
Yeah.
you better, you not realizing why you have all these emotions and these feelings is because you got to let some stuff go. So
Yeah.
I think forgiveness requires truth. Being truthful with myself, being truthful with the entire situation, and that's as best as I could put that. I don't know if that makes
No,
sense.
that's good.
to you.
We have so much questions, so it's okay. You I think you unraveled that really good. So, who teaches us forgiveness?
We learned that from, well, I don't know if y'all went to Sunday school, but that was embedded in me from school. God, like you learn what it is. He has forgiven us how much times? And if God used to count the things that we did, like
Yeah.
we'd be, I don't know where we'd be. So it's like he forgives and he throws it in the sea of forgetfulness, and he requires us to do the same thing. So you cannot take it personal. It is your mandate. You are obligated to forgive. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what I would say in addition to that is you are required to forgive, but you don't have to mend certain relationships.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is. Once you put that in your head, it is of God
Yeah.
for you to forgive someone, because then you'd be in right standing with him. But that doesn't mean that I have to really, mend that relationship.
No, and you shouldn't. We're going to get there. Before we move off of that, though, I asked you, who teaches us forgiveness? Right? That is our really kind of first teaching. But when we were visual learners, who did we
Oh.
see? No, this is part B, baby. That was A you answered, this is B. So who teaches us forgiveness? Who do we see forgiveness from? Well, how do we get the tools to forgive? How do we see those things?
I got you.
Through who?
I see what you did
How
there.
do we do that?
Your environment. I can't just say parent. You made it growing up with your grandma, your sister. So it's whoever you are in that environment with.
Right.
So it's the nature versus nurture kind of thing. So if that's how you grow up and you see how they respond to certain situations, then you're more inclined to do the same thing. So
Right.
I think that's the same thing with forgiveness. Now that you
Yeah.
put it to me like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that
but
makes
guess what?
sense,
You answered.
know?
You actually answered the question perfectly. You answered both parts, and I love that, because as we become adults and as we start on our own, and we have to handle life on our own and do things by ourselves. We get in situations and we do what we know, and sometimes it don't always work out for us. But what I find a lot of people do is they blame the parent, or they blame, the domestication. Understood. I don't think they should blame it. I think they should understand that's why they do it. But I don't think that necessarily blaming something for being this way helps you, because once you cast the blame, you leave it there and you stop growing. That's how I feel. Like, if you don't acknowledge that, okay, this is because of my mother or my father or my Grammy, but does that mean I have to stay this way? Does that mean I have to, be this way? Go ahead.
I was just gonna piggyback on that, because I think it really boils down to you being accountable.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you may not know that at the age of 2, but at a certain point you got to stop saying because of mommy.
Exactly.
And that's why I brought up the nature versus nurture thing. I know somebody that grew up in a certain circumstances, but does that mean that that person has to be a product of
their
that environment?
Exactly.
It does
No.
not mean that. So I think it's just about you come in to a certain point and you just have to be accountable.
Yeah.
And I realized in my situation, I had to do the same thing. So here you are pointing fingers at persons, but it's like, when you point one, how much directed to you? So you got to
Yeah.
check yourself too.
You have to.
You have to check yourself too, and
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. You have to be accountable. You can't continue to say, well, this is the reason why this is happening. If
Yeah.
it is, what you can do to change it now?
That's what I'm saying.
You
Yeah, that's beautiful that you understand. Well, I probably did get this because of this, or I was raised in this kind of environment. That's great, because that's awareness. Awareness is a beautiful journey, but that's just the first step. The other step is accountability, like you were saying. Even though I did not put myself in a situation, what am I going to do now to be responsible for my own life?
Yes.
How am I going to move forward from this?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I agree.
I love that. Great. So, Jam, how necessary is letting go in forgiveness? Like, how necessary is
yeah.
like letting go? How's that tied around forgiveness?
It is crucial.
Yeah.
Like not being able to forgive, not being able to move on from a situation can consume
Don't it?
you. Listen, so you don't even want that. It is so freeing when you could just let a situation
So
go.
liberating. Yes, it is.
And once you could compare that, like you wouldn't even stress like sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the place I'm in. I would not say that right now I am completely healed, but I can definitely tell you I'm at point A anymore. You understand?
Yeah, that's
so
good.
it's like things that I would think heavily about, like I don't even know. Like when your peace, listen.
Yes.
That is so
Talk about
vital.
peace of mind.
Listen.
Talk about peace of mind.
That is so vital. And
It is.
once you experience peace, my dear, if something drop on the floor, okay, we'll get them off. Like that's how you'll
Yeah.
be gliding through life.
Yeah.
Like so once you
Easy going.
experience that, then it'll be easier. And we still going back to the point that forgiveness is not the easiest thing.
Yeah,
but
it's one of the
you'll
hardest
be able
things ever.
to maneuver through it a bit
Yeah.
more easier once you've already experienced peace. Then you ain't gonna let nothing get to you. But I think it's a very important thing. You have to let go in order to move on, because that'll weigh you right down.
It will weigh you down. But let's open up letting go, because let's talk to someone who doesn't know the first step to letting go. Like y'all say let go and let go and let God. But
Child, it
how do
ain't
you
easy.
really let go?
There is no one size fits all
Yeah,
approach
your
to this.
perspective. Definitely, there's
all.
not, because everyone to
So,
each his own. Everyone is different.
I would love to give you steps, but the reality is it does not work like that.
Yeah.
I already talk about you getting one place with forgiveness and then it feel like you're back to square
Mm-hmm.
one. Well, that happens. But with letting go, you have to first be intentional.
That's a step.
So you have to first be intentional. And
Be
this is just
intentional.
speaking-
So, if we're clear, being intentional with letting go or releasing.
You have to realize that this is what I want, and you have to be intentional about it. I could say I want to lose weight. What you doing? How you get on McDonald's?
Right.
Why you there? You understand what I'm saying? You have to
How
be
you get the
intentional.
food?
How?
Right.
You have to be intentional about
Right,
it.
right.
So
Yes,
this is a
yes,
situation
yes,
that
yes.
I no longer want it to consume me, to take over my life, to cause me to be depressed, to cause me to be hurt. Now what am I going to do? That is you being intentional. You
Yeah.
have first. So we get 2 steps just now.
Now
You
we
have to
got
acknowledge it.
acknowledgement.
And then we gotta be intentional,
Be
about the
intentional.
process.
So we
I think that's my
acknowledge
2
it.
steps right there.
Then we be intentional. I love that, because anytime I post anything on Instagram, my little short rants, when I just try to send some motivation out, it always comes from the core of my heart, because
Yes.
I know persons need it, and if I feel it, I can give it. You know, I'm not gonna just keep it to myself. And persons always ask for like, thank you for that, I needed that, but I don't know the first steps to doing that. And I'm like, wow, like that's something serious, because I never thought about my actual first steps of how I got to where I am.
Yeah.
Until you really like sit back and think about it, because obviously I was still where they were before, but not that you see the light towards everything, but you grow from certain points. And acknowledgement and intention and being intentional, I think those are 2 great steps, because now you acknowledge that this is something that I don't need in my life, or that I don't want. This is something that is toxic. This don't bring me happiness. I need to let it go. But what if all of your heart in it? What if you pour all of your heart in it? What if you're only thinking with your heart? How do you let go? Because I feel like that's what traps people. They think they're thinking only with this, and then they're not being like really logical about, should I let this go? But your heart is really attached to it. What advice would you give someone who only knows? Because I can't say only does this. Some people do what they know. What advice would you give someone who only knows how to think from their heart space? How would you encourage them to think and look at the glass otherwise, and not in the light that they were looking at it in?
That's a deep question. That's a really deep question. And I sitting here trying to figure out.
I think, okay,
how-
let's talk about it some more then. I'm sure you've only felt from or thought from your heart space too at one point.
Is it really that? That's the question I need to ask. How do you then decipher if this your mind telling you something versus your heart? Because if you connect and you understand what love is this situation that is quote unquote toxic really a matter of the heart? You're infatuated, or you're really in love? That's what you got to decipher.
Very true.
You
'Cause
got to
those are two
decipher
different
that.
things. Yeah,
Because when
those
you
are
say
two
think
different
from,
things.
think from your heart, I think you need to
When
decipher
I
those
think
feelings
hard,
first.
I don't think infatuation. I think
But
that's
most of
I
these
feel like most of
situations-
that is in the mind.
But most of these situations, you would agree how dating how it is now.
Yeah.
I don't think we understand the difference right now. So we old school.
Yeah.
So when we talk about love, we talking about love.
Yeah.
He buy me bamboo shack. I in love. He's concerned.
Oh,
you know, $40. He concerned. You understand? So are we really? You got to be able to
I don't mean to laugh, but you're so true.
That's what I'm trying to say. So now when you say the question, we old school, I deep. So I didn't get deep. I ready to answer this on a deep level. But then the question really is it your heart or is it your mind that telling you, I love him? I love him. You understand? That's what the issue is.
This sounds like another topic.
Yeah.
And obviously, me and you have to hash this out again. Maybe it'll be a podcast or something, but we can figure that out because that opened up a new can.
Yeah.
All right, so we do understand how important letting go is as far as forgiveness. Let me give you a little scenario. Okay.
Let me take a sip because
Yeah,
I wasn't
take a sip.
prepared for these questions.
Take a, you know, take a good little sip. Wet your throat up a little bit.
All right.
I have a little scenario for you. Denise and her father have not spoken in 10 years, right? He's never had a consistent relationship with her since childhood, but he has always given the attention to his other children. Her father has recently extended an olive branch to mend their relationship, but she is clearly not interested. What advice would you give to Denise in this situation?
Denise has to approach the situation when Denise feels ready. Denise sounds like she needs to address certain issues because sometimes when you look at a situation, you think it's about you. Why she ain't talking to me?
Right.
But they going through something personal.
Yes.
So Denise sounds like she need to work through her feelings. Why is it that she, feel the way that she feels about her father?
Yeah.
Is it I wouldn't call her jealous, but is it because he has a better relationship?
But let me, okay.
You may feel.
So let me break it down a little bit more for anyone who's watching now. Basically, she has not spoken to her father in 10 years, and he's never been consistent in her life at all.
I assume that the other kids,
But he's always
in a different
been-
relationship,
I mean,
or that doesn't matter.
just for the sake of the story, yes, let's say that. The point is, he's extending an olive branch now to, he wants to mend the relationship, he wants to be in her life and all of this stuff, but she ain't into that. She just ain't here for it. So let's look at these people as individuals, and this is something I always preach, and I know my friends will probably say yes. I probably say this a lot, but it's so true. We have to look at the individuals and not the titles. We have to look at, that's parent and daughter, but this, what's she name?
Denise.
Denise and Andrew. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at it for what it is. This is a neglected relationship. And this is a child and a father. She never had a father, and she had to probably grow up to see him be a father to her siblings. And of course, that's an everlasting void. That void never goes anywhere until you actually really sit down and address that. But there has been none of that. All he wants to do is kind of reach out and say, hey.
I think he's kind of like jumping the gun because this is just baby steps now. You don't even know how she feels. You only had the conversation yet.
Right.
So you can't just expect that, okay, because I'm reaching out now, you're supposed to just, but when I'm talking about Denise, and I think this is where we go wrong in Bahamian society. We feel like if we have to talk to somebody is a problem. Now this the nurse talking to y'all. I feel like mental health is a issue that we don't touch. We don't. And I feel like
not enough.
Because we cannot work through certain emotions, that's why you have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And abuse is one of those things. These boys cannot process emotions, so that's why they do the things that they do to females.
Yeah.
So in this situation, it's the same thing with Denise. I feel like Denise has some personal problems that she need to work through, and sometimes you need an outsider. It can't be friend, it can't be sister, it can't be mommy. Sometimes you got to bring in a professional, so you can get to the root of the problem. Because obviously extending that invitation and say I want to be daddy now. That's not the issue. It's what she has already experienced. She's already been scarred. She has a lot to process.
She does.
And right now, having that relationship that I wanted for so long is not priority right now.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. I get that, and I'm actually with you 1,000% on that. But on the parents' defense, because we have to remember, we from different generations. What we know, and the tools you and I have, maybe our parents didn't have. So what if her father only has one kind of tool, and maybe this tool is to only say, well, honey, I wanted to try to work on our relationship. Denise wants an apology. Denise wants him to feel and understand her voids and her hurt. That's what she wants. He wants the relation. The both of them, the common denominator is they both probably want a relationship. But the journey to get there, they have totally different routes. So, in his defense, what if that's all he has to give? Is that I'm sorry and I want us to work on it. I don't know what else to say. Because maybe he went through a childhood like that, and maybe his parents did that to him.
So you see where this
it's
now,
a domino effect.
No, and I'm glad that you said that, because now this opens that door.
Yeah.
If she did not understand, now they have an understanding, and I think that's where we fall short. Communication is key.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter if you know how to close this laptop one way and I do it the next way. We just communicate that, hey, I can do it this way.
Right.
And you can. That's all that you need, and that's why you need a mediator. Is how I feel.
Yeah.
Because it ain't just about Denise. I only focus on Denise because the question was how should she, work through that process.
Yes.
But now that you bring Dad into it, it may be that.
Yeah.
And in having that conversation in that setting, because right idea, wrong time is what I always tell people. You could be very it could be for a good reason that you want to do something, but it's not the right time. So having that conversation in that setting at home, you upset, he's stressed out from whatever. I'm thinking, like, if you create this environment, y'all could hash those things out, and then you would be able to discover those things if Daddy did something to Denise's father, or you understand. So I think it's just a understanding.
It is communication rules and saves the nation, right? That is a fact. But only when you have the foundation towards that, you can make better decisions. But when you're coming out of a very strained, toxic relationship, you don't have the means to communicate.
So let me stop you right there.
Please
because
stop me.
That is what I am trying to teach with Fempowerment. I thought I had this grand scheme. This is how love is supposed to be. What I'm learning now at the age of 30, I'll be 31 tomorrow, is that you have to be open to relearning.
Oh, yeah.
So you talking about this foundation, scratch the foundation. Obviously that did not work.
Yeah.
So you have to be open to now relearning.
Yeah, and guess what? And then also
at any age you could learn new stuff.
And open to creating your own foundation. Because we don't need to just start. The foundation we came from, some of it cracked and some solid. So we need to get rid of the cracked pieces and build our own solid ground for us. So I think it is a journey that we do have to take within ourselves. Great. All right, so that's our take on Denise. So what I want to say again on that is, like I said, because you may have a parent watching who does not know how to get back into their child's life because of whatever happened. Or you may have a child who wants to get back in their parent life but doesn't know how to do that. So what advice would you give to that person, whether that's the parent or whether that's the child? What would you tell them? Because you miss your parent, and you miss your child, and some things are just so petty that you just cut each other off for. What advice would you give?
Sorry, what advice would I give
the parent
to
or
anybody
the child,
in a situation that wants to mend a relationship?
Yes.
Oh, anybody who's trying to mend a relationship,
So,
what
okay,
advice
how about
would I
this?
give them?
I'll do Denise, and I want you to give the advice for the father.
Okay.
Okay, so for Denise, I would tell Denise that I understand the pain. Your pain is valid. You have all rights to be upset, angry, bitter, whatever, because he didn't show up for you the way he was supposed to. And that pain is not just going to go overnight because he did not do it. And what you needed him to be, he did not. Let's acknowledge that first, because you've got to acknowledge that your pain is valid and it's necessary. But at the same time, let's look at maybe his child a little bit, because we have to get to know the people. Maybe he did not know how to do it. If he did, he would have done it. If there was an issue, let's say with the mother and her, you just never know what these situations are sometimes. So I would tell Denise to open her heart up. I would tell her to take whatever necessary time she needs to take. I would tell her to open her heart up. I would tell her to take the time she needs to take, but I would tell her always think from another perspective outside of hers. We always get so drowned in our own emotion that we don't want to think about how someone else really feels about something. So I tell her that because you only get one parent, and if the relationship is just a toxic one for whatever reason,
then nothing you can do with it.
Run, because you do have family members that can be toxic.
Yes.
So if that's the case, run. But if you realize that he is trying to do things a bit differently, I say, open your heart and try.
Well, the advice that I would give Dad is forgiveness is twofold. So you have to learn to forgive yourself. You can't
Yes.
hold on to
Getting there.
things that you may have done that is already in the past.
Yeah.
You have to forgive yourself so that you could move forward with hoping that Denise would do the same.
Yeah.
The second thing that I tell Dad is not to take it personal, because Denise, we didn't see all, you know, we could see Denise and Dad's situation, but they can't see it. And from what you've told me, Denise is going through a lot, and she's battling with a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
So you have to take you out of that, and you have to not be so personal and allow her to work through. And eventually, anything that you put in God's hand it'll be dealt with. I don't know if Dad is a Christian or whatever have you, but my advice always has to do with prayer.
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta seek outside advice, but I would ask him not to be personal about the situation.
Yeah,
And
none
then
of
the
them.
last thing is just to be patient.
Yeah.
Because we already talked about the road to forgiveness.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear and then you knock. So it is a long
It's
process.
a journey. It really is.
So you just
It
have to be
really is.
patient.
Yeah.
So that is the advice that I would give to him.
I think that's some good advice. I think that's some good advice. Okay. So the next question is, why do we forgive? Why not hold on to it like everybody else's do? Because everybody have a pillar, like a grudge, a bunch of chips on their shoulders. Why not hold on to it like everyone else holds on to it? What good would forgiveness do me? If I never forgive anybody in my life, you came here to convince me, what good would forgiveness do me?
You wouldn't be a angry bomb walking around.
Really?
And why I feel like that is because you holding on to so much emotion. Some you can't even control. Some so silly.
Some
till
you
it
don't even
make sense.
understand. Yeah.
You know, but you would just be an angry bomb, and angry bombs walk around, and it doesn't take anything to set off that bomb.
Yeah.
And here you are projecting those feelings onto other people. Why would you won't be miserable, and then you won't make other people miserable? And
Yeah.
I think we spoke about the freeing part of it. Why not be free? Why not have that peace? Why hold on so tight to be burdened by that?
Yeah, let me say this because, and this is personal experience. Before my own journey even started, I used to struggle with forgiveness so much because I didn't want it to look like a sign of weakness on me. So I would never forgive situations because of that. I don't want to look like the weak one. I ain't giving in first, so I whatever. Right or wrong.
Understood.
That's a toxic trait.
It is.
I had that, and I had to realize that I'm not perfect. I want to be forgiven. I want people to forgive me. And also, I'm looking at this the wrong way. I don't care how I appear to be because this is for me. When I forgive, this is for me to move on from wherever this is. This is for me to elevate from wherever this position is, not to stay where I am. So forgiveness is for me. I had to realize that. So, yeah. What do you think about that?
I think we touched a bit on that earlier. It is for you. It's for you to be able to move on from a situation. You need to forgive somebody else because it's an obligation.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. It ain't no discussing it. It ain't no, you have to. You just
Yeah.
have to. You simply have to forgive people. And like you say, imagine if God handled us the same way. And just write it down. All right. That's the next thing that you do. The way that we hold people, like this record, this scoreboard.
I don't know why we do that.
You know, like, but you wouldn't want
what
somebody
that's what we
to
were,
deal
that's
with
what we
you
were
like
taught,
that.
though. Yeah. Sadly, that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen, so that's what we've been taught. That's the only reason why I could say that's why we did it. So for me, I was like, child, I ain't saying sorry because I ain't doing nothing wrong. And what I realized is, and I thank God for this lesson because this was something I was struggling with. You can't vouch for someone's feelings. If you tell me, P, you hurt me, I
you
can't
don't
say,
get
no,
to
I ain't hurt
say-
you.
Exactly.
I can't tell you that.
You're preaching to
I
the
can't
choir.
tell you I ain't hurt you because those are your feelings.
Yes.
You hold those things. I don't know how you feel. So for you to say, Pia, you really hurt me when you said it, or Pia, when you did that, that really hurt me. And I say, Jam, BS, because I did not hurt you. That's wrong to do. I didn't want to forgive because, like I said, I didn't want to look weak. It was more of how it would make me look. And it's so stupid because I knew I was wrong for whatever it is I was wrong for, but it was like, I don't want to look weak. And that's another thing we do. We put up this image so much and we don't want to take anything away from the image we try to put out there. So in my head, being honest and asking for forgiveness for whatever it was a sign of weakness. And I don't know where I learned that from, but I'm glad that I was able to understand that and throw it away.
And
because
unlearn it, because we talk about
and
learning
unlearn
new.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to anyone listening and watching, some things are not easy to forgive. Understood. We get that. But some things are necessary to be forgiven for you, in order for you to move on, in order for you to put it behind you. Like, it ain't necessarily all about the other person. Granted, you probably did hurt that person in that situation, but you have to take your own responsibility and for what you did, you know, and move on from that. Because I can't, when I would not forgive, when I would not open up that part of me, it would haunt me. It's like a weight, like it is sleeping on your chest and it wakes up with you every day. It was a weight, and it was something that I could not avoid, and I had to tell myself, this, you gotta let this whole, whatever this is you're holding on to about it, you gotta let it go.
So you mentioned that it was an ego thing for you. For me,
Definitely.
it was just a not. I came from a place of not understanding how you could do me like that, and I don't do people like
Right, I
that.
feel
So
you.
this is why I couldn't forgive, because it's like, but I do you nothing. I'm that type of person, so I just didn't know how to even begin, because I couldn't process it, that it ain't about your feelings.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started like reading my Bible, I understand, like, you got to take you out of a chair.
Yeah.
Because that was the hardest thing for me to process. I didn't do anything.
Right.
Not that I standing firm on like how you
Right,
feeling,
right,
but it
right.
was just like, how?
It's like
Why I got?
It's like you knew like you did not deserve it, and you try to wrap your mind around the situation, like you didn't do anything wrong.
So why
So
I have to
why I have to
turn
forgive
around and
you?
be the
Why do
one-
I forgive you and
Yes.
you hurt me?
So it just makes you the bigger person, and being the bigger person is a wonderful place to be. Sometimes you just gotta turn the other cheek, because I'm big on principles. My friend, like the old jam. You know the old jam.
Yeah.
So like when I got
It was a head too for me.
So I don't want to go back there, but anyway, the old jam, like it was, my friends would try to remove me out of the situation, and they'd be like, Jam, come this way, and I'm like, no, why you have to remove me?
Right.
I ain't do
I
nothing.
ain't do
Like,
nothing.
I stand in here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
So it's the same way with the forgiveness thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't do you anything. Why I have to forgive you?
Yeah.
But it's a bigger lesson in that.
It's a bigger
And we
lesson. It
we
is.
miss it. It ain't a personal thing.
It's
That
not, like, you-
It's so much bigger than you and what you think. It's the whole concept,
It is.
and it is the principle. I just had the principle wrong. It
Yeah.
is a principle
Yeah.
with forgiveness, and once we learn that lesson, it'll be so much easier. So now I don't feel like, why I may roll my eyes and I mean, God, gotta forgive her too.
Right,
Yes, you have
of course,
You have
because
to.
you human, and that's natural to be disappointed or let down when you have to do something and you feel like you didn't do anything wrong in it. That's so natural, but at the same time, like you say, it's a bigger lesson. For me, the bigger lesson was, do not take it personal. This was not a personal attack on P.A.D. It was nothing like that. It's not a personal attack on Jam.
Yeah.
Some people did some things personal for them.
Yes.
And that aided in this. So that was a big lesson for me. Don't take it personal. This was not directed for you. And with that helped me really start to move on from certain things.
That's a beautiful place to be, though.
It is. All right. We have 2 more questions.
Okay.
All right. So listen to this scenario now. Tanya is the definition of a body, right? She is IG's famous on every other social media platform. She's known for her sexy pictures and promiscuous videos. She recently went a bit far with some photos and they got into the wrong hands. This is the lowest she's ever felt in her life and she's struggling to move on. What advice would you give Tanya in the journey to self-forgiveness?
Okay, so some pictures was leaked. with
Basically, Tanya
Tanya.
is
No,
a-
we said to recap. You give me a
Yeah,
whole
okay, so
lot.
let me break it down. Basically, Tanya's body, she just looked good. Pretty, fine, sexy, all these things. And she took some pictures and she
Yeah.
sent it to, well, it got into the wrong hands. Let's say she posted them.
Oh, so
let's say she posted them and they kind of got into the wrong hands. So let's say she sent them to somebody and they got into the wrong hands for the purpose of the scenario. Now, let's say they are viral and everywhere. I'm asking you, what advice would you give her on her journey to self-forgiveness? Because this is a decision she made for herself. So she is struggling with everyone seeing this and knowing this and just all in her business now.
I know it's easier said than done, but you got to tune all of that out. Because if it's that you focusing on you, like
When
you
you
make
say
mistakes,
tune, when you say
like,
tune,
because
what do you
can-
mean?
When I can get to that right now. Tune all of that out, meaning for a second, just mute mute the comments. And like I said, this is easier said than done. Mute the comments, because there's nothing that my mommy always says. You know, what you give to the world, you cannot take back, and that is very true.
Yeah.
And that's anything, whatever come out my mouth. That's why you got to be. You really have to think before you
Yes,
do certain
you do,
things.
yeah.
But the reality is that don't always happen. Some things I shoot off, and I still trying to get to that point where I, sometimes mouth and brain don't connect, and it's just like, oh, Jim, you just
can't say that.
So
Right.
with Tanya's situation, okay, such is life. These pictures leak, right?
Right.
What you can do now? Are you gonna sit down and continue to cry over the spilled milk? Sometimes you gotta get aggressive with you.
Yes.
Ain't no one gonna baby you up.
You better. Come on,
Nobody
girl.
can baby you up. And this
Yes.
is what I had to realize in life. If you're looking for someone to pat you on the shoulder, oh, sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that it happened to you. It's very unfortunate, but now we need to move to a solution.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Like, okay, the bad thing happened. I can't.
You can't do nothing with that.
You see me refer to old jam. Some people still holding on to old jam. This is what I mean by muting all of that around.
Yeah.
Because if you wear a white shirt today, project you to wear that white shirt. That ain't look good on you.
Yeah.
You have to mute those things. So if you asking me advice to give Tanya, mute those things. So because Tanya got to focus on her now. You cannot take those image back, Tanya. You didn't put it out there.
Yeah.
So now you just have to work on what you're gonna do. I can be a bit more careful.
Yeah.
And you just gotta continue on with your life, because ain't like you could put a public statement out there.
Right.
Those pictures were not.
Right.
So what do you really do if some pictures was leaked? Let me tell you something. Everything have a time in the season, and we then see how much pictures come out, and then you news today, and then they
all
forget
those
about
tomorrow.
It. So time to mute that, because if you go slit your wrist, get depressed, drink and things like that, you would realize that life still goes on.
It sure does.
So you gotta focus on you. How much things out there, celebrities, everybody always in their business. How much times those things has happened to them is news today, and then tomorrow you get on with your life.
Facts.
So that's what I mean by mute, and then just know that, okay, this too shall pass.
Shall
It ain't
pass.
pass now. They can talk about it for some time, but something else can come up, and not waiting for the next bad situation to happen, but something else
because it always does.
something else will catch those people attention who probably ain't working, sitting on the couch watching other people business kind of thing. Something else can capture their attention. So that's what I'll tell Tanya. Things happen in life. You can't just sit and sulk over a situation. Things happen to me, Brigitte, and if I start to tell my story about half the things, if I sit and sulk, but not everybody has the same coping mechanism.
Exactly.
So
yes.
Let me put that out there, because I don't want to be like, oh, we'll do this and then. Because not everybody aggressive like us. Not everybody assertive with situations like that. But sometimes you gotta. These people didn't mean you know well in any event. Half as strangers. So you can't particularly be concerned about what they said. And the picture's worth 1,000 words. They ain't looking at the story or how it got out. They just attacking the fact that it's out.
That's all. They don't care how it got there. All they know is it's there.
Well, self-forgiveness is just recognizing that, hey, this was a mistake.
A mistake.
I mistakenly put it. This was somebody that I loved, that I probably shared these intimate photos
Or
with.
guess what?
And
Even if it wasn't someone that I love, because you have a lot of females,
Who just sent
and males
pictures.
too, I'm sure, in that same situation. They didn't necessarily put it out there to their loved one or, their spouse, but they put it out there for whatever reason. So the advice I guess I would give to that is, like you said, I piggyback off what you said. It was a mistake. I wouldn't say that. I would say I mistakenly put it out. I think I would say that I do think it is a mistake that I put it out. I was not thinking clearly in the right way when I put it out. I don't know what I was thinking. My thinking was clouded, or I was thinking about this, being transparent and honest about it, because the best person to be transparent with you is you.
Listen.
You have to be honest with yourself and say, ugh, I messed this one up, or, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. And yes, you're supposed to acknowledge that. I don't say sulk in it and sit in it, because it don't help you. But what helps you is acknowledgement. And bringing awareness to whatever that situation is. So I would say to that, like, understand that we all do make mistakes, and we all grow from our mistakes as well. Use it to the best of your advantage and in the right ways.
And then try not to make that same
mistake again. Nah, Tanya, if next week Another one out, Tanya. It's you, baby. Tanya, this,
sympathize with
Tanya, this is what you like.
Yes.
And guess what? Even if that's what you like, to each his own.
Yes.
But don't cry about it.
Yes,
You
yes,
understand?
yes.
Because we do things and then we hide our hand afterwards. You can't hide your hand.
Yes,
And
yes.
you did that.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. So
I am
Tanya,
big, I got to clap to that, I'm big on the accountability.
you gotta be accountable, babe. You have to be. Who else will be? And I feel like people really need to understand accountability, babe, because for real, if
I
you
go a
ain't
long
accountable
way.
with yourself,
I go a long way.
anyone tell you anything, it's like it goes straight over your head. Because it sounds like you're trying to tell me what to do.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
sounds like you're trying to, put the hammer down on me when someone actually trying to help you. Certain things you may see in me, Jam, that I don't see inside me. Certain things I may see in you that you don't see inside you.
They have this model, it's called the Johari's window. Look that up when you get a chance.
Okay.
And it talks exactly about that. There are 4 corners, and I don't want to quote the entire thing, but Google it, and for the listeners, Google it too.
Okay.
But it gives you different perceptions. There's only certain things that you can see as an individual that somebody else may not be able to see. Then there's a box that identifies what Pia could see in Jem,
Yeah.
but Jem can't see
Yes,
in herself.
yes, yes.
So Johari's window addresses that. And I think that is a beautiful model because it helps you to come into and become accountable. 'Cause
Yeah.
you break down certain things. So
Yeah.
that's just something to look up.
No, I like that. I'm definitely going to. Y'all look that up too. 2 more questions and we're done. We're almost done, guys.
It was two questions.
That's
ago.
okay.
I'm laying here. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
What? Pre, come in for these last 2 questions. Can you come in? You come sit close to us. No, we ain't gonna see. We need to hear your voice. This is the voice of the mirror. What? You can stay right there.
Come on that side. That side might be easier for you.
Yeah, there's more room on the side.
You just squeeze.
I just want to say after she didn't do all of that.
Sorry, babe.
I can't see you. Yeah, all that space.
Cool. All right. Can I ask you all questions?
This your show?
I can do whatever the hell I want. Okay, let
I
me
just
start.
gotta say-
We can go in a circle, so I can start with Bree. So we're wrapping up, but we're just going to ask a few more questions. So I have a lovely team and 1 audience member. So B, can you tell us one thing that forgiveness has taught you? Just one thing.
Well, listening into you guys' conversation, I can honestly say forgiveness has made me feel lighter. That has lessened the burden.
Yeah,
every day.
definitely.
Carrying it along with me every day, just, hey, okay, I'm avoiding this one because she did this to me.
Yeah.
I don't face it. So I can honestly say it made me lighter.
Made you a lighter, made you feel lighter, live lighter. You don't
Yeah.
carry that burden around. You don't carry that weight around. Okay. Cameraman. Jeffrey, what is one thing that you would say forgiveness taught you?
Who told you to forgive?
You know what? Let's move on to the next person.
But we all at different places in this journey, so he may
Jeffrey.
still need to learn some stuff.
Even if it's one thing, what is one thing forgiveness taught you?
I don't forgive, I get revenge.
And I can honestly say,
Okay.
Well, that's an honest-
It's
but
from the
Jean-
island, and island man don't forgive. They do
Nah,
not.
B. All island man.
Most island men do not forgive. Like,
Yo, please zoom in on my face for this one. See, thing, most island man don't forgive.
Oh Lord! And he is
Are you
stirring
serious?
up.
I'm not even looking at him for confirmation for this. I'm speaking on behalf of Jeffrey.
I don't know what to say.
And
My best friend say that she born and bred a dad and just got. And you too, apparently. And you trying to tell me island man don't forgive? That's a topic for another day. Great. Jimmy,
Yeah.
what has forgiveness taught you?
Yeah, it's hard to forgive. Once you do, that's so worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it.
It's always worth it, yeah. But tell me why it's worth it.
Yo, unforgiveness and holding in animosity is age you.
It does.
You feel tired.
And it makes you very sick.
You're upset all the time. Your body ain't functional. But since once I forgave who wrong with me.
Yeah.
I was light.
Yeah.
I lost weight.
Yes.
Skin clearer.
Just elevated on
I
all
was
levels.
Like, ooh.
It looked like everybody on the same page with this
Except this
forgiveness.
island model over here. Like, I don't know.
We can
we can work on him.
We can work on him. We can work on him. We can work on him.
Forgiveness, chopping them off.
Okay, forgiveness has taught me a lot of things. But the one thing that's on the top of my list is forgiveness taught me how to love myself. That's what it really did. It taught me how to accept the things about myself that I wanted other people to accept. Because there are things about you that you know only you could deal with
You need to read this book.
because it's you.
You need to read this book.
So you know what I mean? Like it really taught me how to accept myself and love myself, loving the parts of myself that I used to throw in the back seat, you know, and only putting the good parts of me to the front. It helped me to acknowledge all of those parts of me and love myself some more. That's what it taught me. So Jem, before we close up,
You'd think I'd have this answer by now because everybody going around the circle.
what has forgiveness taught you?
Forgiveness has taught me a whole lot, but I think the most valuable lesson forgiveness has taught me was stepping outside of me, showing me that as well as I'm human, somebody else is, and it gives me insight. It turns me into a more empathetic
Yes.
empathetic person.
Yeah.
Because I could relate to your situation because just the same way that I would want to be forgiven, I need to extend that same courtesy
Yeah.
to somebody else. So that's what it taught me, to be a bit more humble,
Yeah.
to analyze a situation and realize that this go both ways.
Yeah.
Because if you did
Two-way
something,
street.
you know, you standing in your truth that, okay, I was not wrong, but that person may feel the same way.
Yeah.
So it kind of just lets you become a bit more understanding,
Yeah.
is what I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
understanding is a good word. Like it kind of just puts you in the middle of the lane, and it takes the ego out. Because that's one thing you got to take out when you talk about forgiveness. Like not
Self
even just
and
forgiveness, certain
personal.
situations you just got to kick that ego to the side because it's going to do you more harm than
And
good,
good,
and
honestly.
it always does.
and some people learn the lesson, some people learn it a little bit too, right?
Yeah, we working on you, okay? Excuse me, put the camera on me. Excuse me, look at me, cameraman. We working on you, Jeffrey, okay? You got that hate in your heart. You got I know that hate.
And then some people don't learn it at all, but
Give it
we
grade. That's what give him the grade. That makes sense.
You know exactly what you missed me.
Oh my! You better include all of this in this.
but yeah, forgiveness. This was a heavy topic because I think this is a topic that a lot of people don't want to address.
And you know what? Anything I talk about, I just telling my best friend this morning. We're in the beautiful, exotic bazaar, everybody. If you're trying to figure out where we are, the beautiful location of Exotic Bazaar. Okay.
Hold it down, Deborah.
Sometimes, like, certain things come up after you thought you dealt with it. That's why it's called growing pains, like I said earlier. Forgiveness is one of those things, especially when it's something that really hurts you or disappoints you. You would have thought you made peace with that whenever you had your reaction. You didn't cry all day, eat all kind of foolishness, do all kind of things. And then you wake up the next day, you think you're over it. And then 2 months later, you can't get out of bed because you're still struggling with whatever this thing is. That's why forgiveness is a continuous journey.
It is.
Because every time it comes up, you got to pour more into it. You got to pour more into it because it's not something that just goes overnight, especially if it was anything traumatic or if it was someone who was close to you.
And that's why I go back to what I said earlier about you being intentional.
Yeah.
You've used all these scenarios. You have to really ask yourself, am I being intentional? Because it keeps coming back up for certain, it's coming back up for a reason.
Yeah.
If you keep experiencing the same situations in life, it's because you have not learned that lesson. So why is it that you struggle with this forgiveness? Are you being intentional
Not to
about
cut you off.
moving?
Not to cut you off. When you say I have not learned that lesson, I just want to add into that because I'm saying this off of personal experience. You have not learned all the lessons because it's a lesson for every level, depending on where you are in your growth. So I feel as though.
That's why I said that lesson.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't put a
just to
specific.
anybody who's trying to figure it out because there is levels to healing.
It is.
There's so much levels to healing. Yeah.
It is, but when you look at those situations, I'm talking about that specific lesson.
Yeah.
So because I know where I am challenged. we talk about moving away from the old Jam to the new Jam. So this is just something personal that I'm sharing with you.
Yeah.
I am trying to work on how I respond to certain situations. Giving people that power is not a cool thing.
Yeah.
So trying to channel and control those emotions are what I am presently dealing with. And I find that I could walk out this door, and if I say that's what I'm dealing with, somebody can press the button.
Yeah.
And then some days you just let them. And then
Yeah.
other days, so a situation may come from that door to me going home.
Yeah.
And so you may learn, you may get a lesson right after that. So if you don't learn it, I'm saying that specific lesson will keep repeating itself.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with forgiveness. I read something where it said, what is in your heart is what consumes the mind. If
Yeah.
something keep coming up in your mind, it's because it's on your
In
heart.
your heart,
So
yeah.
have you really dealt with that issue? Have you really been intentional about forgiving that person, or you just saying it to say it?
Just to say you forgive them.
Because you could
Yeah.
say anything with your mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they say, so your mouth say. That's
Yeah.
the guy. And people that say, so your mouth say. But are you really being intentional?
Are you being
you ain't
genuine
gonna
with
get
it?
from point A to point B is if I just tell him, well, I trying to forgive him. Trying, you eliminate everything.
Yeah.
Try harder or forgive him. You
Yeah.
understand? So that is what I speak about when I talk about being intentional.
Yeah, I love that. Ooh, this was a heavy conversation today, but a much needed conversation today. I know I needed this conversation, and I didn't even know till we started talking about it. So that's what these conversations is about. That's what this platform is about. And we encourage anyone who is struggling with any healing. The healing journey is a continuous one.
It is.
Okay? Every day is not easy. Some days are harder than most. But when you forgive, remember, you forgive for yourself, you forgive to move on, you forgive for a better life, and you forgive to be a lighter and better person. You forgive, you do it for you. Always remember that. Thank you so much for being here today,
It was
Jam.
a pleasure.
I had a great time talking with you. We probably could be doing a lot of work in the future with your podcast, with your platform. You're definitely going to be back on the show.
I'm here for it, sis.
And before we go again, just tell everyone once again where they can find you for all of your upcoming wonderfulness you
It
got
is
going on.
a lot going on with
Yes.
this organization, and I wish this platform doesn't give me enough time to say everything. But you could log on for more updates. I will not say www again. Fempowerment242.com. I also have again an Instagram and Facebook page. Fempowerment 242 is where you can find that. Also on YouTube and SoundCloud to look out for my podcast.
podcast.
Because this beautiful lady will be there also. We have a
Yes.
lot to talk about. but
Yes.
I appreciate the topic of forgiveness because in my book, and you'll hear about that soon, I basically outline the stages of grief. And I think someplace,
Ooh.
when you talk about the stages of grief,
I
it
don't think
isn't-
I've ever like.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, so like I said,
Yeah, okay,
we can
okay,
talk some
okay,
more, but
okay.
somewhere in between those stages is, I think, a stage that they fail to recognize, and that's a stage of healing. And a part of healing is forgiveness, and that's what we teach here at Fempowerment. Yeah, he did you wrong, but how long you can hold on to that? And in a specific chapter addresses anger. Anger is fine for that appropriate time. That is
Yeah.
an appropriate response for a situation.
Yeah.
But where we fail is when we hold on to that anger.
Yes.
And a quote says, when we suppress it, it becomes like a raging storm in you. And
Suppression
then you
becomes depression.
and rage and all these things. So healing is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I always tell the females that I encounter is where you are in your healing process. We ain't gonna be the same place. And I told them in the book, you will read this book and you probably won't be healed at the end. That's not the expectation.
Right.
This is a continuous process, but you
Yeah.
have to start with the basis, and that's forgiving you first.
Yes.
Before you could forgive any situation,
You have to forgive yourself.
Forgive you.
So if you want to know, like if you really want to know the first, like I feel like a great way to really work on your forgiveness, if you are struggling with forgiving anybody, try yourself. But the man say, try Jesus.
Yes.
Don't try me. Try Jesus.
Don't.
For real, like try yourself. Whatever, because you're not perfect,
No.
you know? So I say turn inward and look at the things that you've probably been disappointed in within yourself. Look at the things that you've probably done to people that you're not too proud of. And you start to make small steps to forgive yourself towards that. And then it should be much easier to forgive somebody else because we all make mistakes. We all do, and then we do things that we don't know hurt people.
Yeah. Oh, that's,
Sometimes we do.
Lord.
I know that's another topic.
It is. It is.
But
you hitting heavy with these things. These are things that need to be put
thank
out
you,
there.
thank you, and I want to thank you once again for being here. I know you were someone that I could have this conversation with. That's why I gave you no information on this topic because I know
You do me wrong.
you know why? Because I know you speak from your heart.
Yes.
Every time I talk to you, Jem, from I know you, that's all you speak from.
Yes.
You've always been such a loyal, genuine person, and I'm so happy to see that you are still that person times 100.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you
feel
so
honored to
much.
be in your presence as well, and I'm glad that you graced the Clearview.
Hey.
So thank you for being here, and this was the Clearview. And remember, everything starts and ends with you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you guys. Love and light, everyone. My name is Piaget, and welcome to the Clearview. Episodes come out each and every Friday. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. The handles will be somewhere on the screen. This is the Clearview, where everything starts and ends with you. If you would like to advertise your business or your platform, be sure to email us at theclearview242@gmail.com.